In Consumer Corner, we take a look at trends and products creating a buzz here in China. On today's show, we'll discuss a report that puts China's sky-high housing prices in international context. For many Chinese citizens, purchasing a home remains one of the great burdens and ongoing projects of their productive work years. Especially for those who move to first-tier cities in search of work, housing is a constant source of worry that encapsulates a range of social issues. Those range from marriage customs to low incomes to hukou residence restrictions. Chinese media and netizens have taken to turning an early communist slogan on its head to express the frustrations of modern Chinese citizens. Early communist propaganda depicted three mountains weighing on the backs of Chinese people: imperialism, feudalism, and bureaucrat capitalism. Now China's citizens have painted a picture of three new mountains weighing on residents of the People's Republic: the cost of housing, education, and medical treatment. But recently, a report on international housing prices has made headlines in China by putting the absolute cost of Chinese housing in international terms. A report published by Citi Private Bank and Knight Frank, a London-based real estate developer, shows mainland China doesn't even make the top 10 when it comes to the most expensive real estate in the world. The priciest real estate market is Monaco, the minuscule luxury getaway that boasts housing prices of $5,408 per square foot. Hong Kong came in fourth on that list when it came to the price of standalone homes, and 10th overall with average home prices of $2,625 per square foot. Absolute prices give little information when it comes to the burden felt by home buyers, so several reports have begun using a comparison between average income level and housing prices in a given region. Data released by globalpropertyguide.com shows that on this measure, the top 4 countries are all in Asia. If comparing standalone homes to income, India's Bombay exhibits the most absurd ratio at 740. With population densities near the highest in the world and much of the city's population confined to slums, Bombay far surpasses Chinese cities on this measure. But with a ratio of 133 between the price of high-end homes and average salaries, Beijing and Shanghai still managed to come in fourth on the list. While it takes far less time to pay off a cramped apartment that many Chinese people are used to, buying a 100 square meter standalone home in China's biggest cities would take 133 years of the average income paid in full. Those comparisons may be a bit unfair because they set the bar far too high for housing. Standalone homes are reserved for those living in luxury, and most Chinese would be happy just to get their hands on a normal apartment. But even using more realistic measures, China's average housing prices still tower over average incomes in the country. The 21st Century Business Herald calculated a ratio of 7.36 between housing prices nationwide and average annual income. That national figure, which encompasses many of China's cheapest and least desirable areas, is comparable to ratios in San Francisco and New York. Things are even worse in first-tier cities such as Beijing and Shanghai. Taking Shanghai as an example, the cost of a 95 square meter apartment is roughly equal to 20 years of the average full salary. And given recent trends, those costs don't appear to be going down anytime soon. After flatlining for much of late 2011 and early 2012, housing prices resumed their upward climb through late 2012. According to a report published by Knight Frank, both Hong Kong and mainland China made the top 10 for fastest increasing real estate prices in 2012. Hong Kong came in second only to Brazil with an annual rise of 14.2%. Mainland Chinese cities came in 7th on the list. If looked at for the third quarter of 2012, Beijing and Shanghai were second only to Colombia in the pace of price increases. Some aspects of the recent report have appeared to throw cold water on Chinese people's constant complaints about the cost of housing. But in reaction to the news, Chinese netizens struck back with doses of sarcasm and vitriol. Chinese netizens expressed their anger and frustration on the housing price issue. Poster Liang Ren Ala wrote, "Dear Mr. Reporter, would you make a big show of being able to run faster than a crippled person or hear better than a deaf person? Of the 200 countries on earth, our property developers have managed to make China one of the top 5 most stressful places for housing. How can you still say we're lucky compared to countries like India? Why don't you compare the housing burden in China with the other 190 countries?" Another poster got specific on the reasons the two comparisons fall flat. He wrote, "Why don't we compare the average income with the people in Monaco, or the right to build slums with the people of Bombay?" Other posters continue to pile it on with sarcastic takes on the report and China's property situation. Poster Lansi 2008 Jing wrote, "The data shows we are still not there when it comes to housing prices and international standards. Real estate magnates have to keep on trying." Another netizen predicted a continuation of the long-term trend in housing prices. Quote, The news report has told us nothing, but there remains the need and room for housing prices in China to rise in the future. The rocket has been launched. Finally, a netizen mocked the gap between China and developed countries using government rhetoric on the people's relationship to the state. Poster Yang Zhenyan wrote, "Those people are slaves to their mortgages. We're the masters of our country." It's clear that given the level of stress in Chinese people's lives, they're not ready to hear much in the way of comforting words or international comparisons.